Hey guys, good morning. I really apologize for this, but the microphone was muted, so rookie problems, rookie streamer, you know how it goes. So if you saw me talking, I was going over the watch list for today. I was also going over my rules. I am not trading today just because I'm not trading one day out of the week, so I go in with the mentality that I don't have to trade every day. There's going to be some days where I don't trade every week unless something else happens. But for now, that's going to be the best rule set for me. I traded the first 4 days, Monday through Thursday. So Friday, here we are. No trades. Which is kind of a bummer because I like some of the setups that are here. I like how AWX is gapped up 24%. Everybody knows it's going right back down to where it started. It just depends how high it goes. It has clear resistance overhead at 550, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get there. Right now, it's testing the pivot during the pre-market at 420, this 420-ish area. So, I mean, this was a huge move. This was your moneymaker. You have that top out at 510 in the pre-market with a rejection. It found support at 420, which it's now testing. It came back up, test this 5, it got slammed back down, and I mean, this is a huge move. This makes your day. 5 minutes into the day, you're already up 50 cents per share. That's a 10% move. Even if you capture only 5% of it, you load up on this because this stock is going to go back down to this 360 area. I did, however, set an alert for this 550 area based on the daily resistance that it has. Last time it was up in this area right here in this $5 area. It got to 550 and just got slammed back down. So it opened at $5, got to 550, went all the way down to 442 and closed there. So a little bit of a doji here. I think you could expect the same from today based on the chart history and these price levels. Now, it didn't get quite up to 550. It only got up to 5. So I'd expect it to go even lower than it did here, about 50 cents. So I expect this to go a little bit below $4 today. Let's see what else we have on watch here. SLS is getting destroyed, absolutely annihilated. That was the second gapper. It's up 18%. This and AWX are both the leading gappers for today. So we'll see if this bounces maybe from this consolidation area in the pre-market, and then you could look to get short again, possibly around the VWAP. But really, an ideal situation, you'd see it fade off even more, confirm that it is really weak, and then come back up and test the VWAP. If it holds up more here, you know, it could potentially be bullish, but it's going to be too close to this VWAP to take a position short. So it's more bullish with this wick. Over 250. Let's see where this thing can go. Yeah, it has overhead resistance in this area. It's red on the day. If it gaps up and it stays red, this thing can go back down to like, to fill this little gap here, back down to like 130. So that's $1 a share. It's about a 50% move. So you'll see today there was a gap to fill above. We have a line at 226 to fill this, and it has already filled that. So 226 right here is where it opened, ironically. So this is a crucial point. It's either going to come up and fill the gap and get rejected, or it's going to hold over this 226 level, turn the former overhead resistance into support, and it's going to bottom here and continue higher. Obviously, I'm right in saying that it goes one way or the other, but you kind of just have to watch and see what happens. So under 226, bearish. Over 226, bullish. So you can use this as a point of risk. So really you can get in here. It's let's see, SLS. You could potentially take a short position and stop out over this 226 level, but like I said, it's starting to pivot too close to this risk level. I like how the EMA is coming down and it's now giving it some overhead resistance on a downward angle. Opening range for this is about 50 cents on it's about a 20 cent window. But if you guys have any stocks that you're watching that you want me to take a look at, let me know in the chat room. And other than that, I'm kind of just watching SLS and AWX. They're not really that interesting. They're not moving that much. I see BRS hit the scanners. Let's take a look at that. Nothing going on there. NTRA. 50 million share float. We were trading this a long time ago, over 1680 and over 17. It looks like it can potentially fill the gap, but this is a gap from today, so I don't necessarily think that will happen. So it looks like these levels here, these previous levels, have turned into some support for it. We were trading this back in July and all the way back in February. On the daily chart, it got up to 30 and now it's pulled back about half of its move. So this could be a potential dip buy if you like the company. They had bad earnings, actually increasing from last. So it could be a dip buy. You'd have to look a little bit more into the company. Look at their sales. Their estimated sales were about accurate. I mean, they missed by $1 million, but
You'll just sit in tight. See if something pops up.
alright, well, let me know if you see anything. We can go over it. I'm just kind of babysitting the market and gathering as much information as I can. Sticking to my rules, not trading really sucks. Luckily, there's not any ideal setups today for me, but I for sure would be shorting. I'd be shorting AWX still. I think this can go, like I said, down into this $360, $370 area today. You don't want to chase it here. You don't want to chase weakness, but like I said earlier, it's catching resistance on this downward sloping moving average. So this is actually the 9 for those of you who don't know my charts. The purple is going to be the VWAP. So if you're looking to play this short, you'd like to see it flush a little bit more. It looks better. And then you can play it either off of the EMA, but I'd really wait for it to get to the VWAP and then re-short it. And then it would be a lower high, and then this thing's just going to get slammed. Absolutely slammed. The only issue that you have to watch out for is short sale restriction. Once that gets turned on, it's not going to fall as quickly as you would hope. So if I were in this trade, I would have obviously taken most of the position and maybe have a little bit more left. Around 375 would really be the target to close this gap today. The gap is actually at 354, but I like to play the wicks. So I'm going to set an alert for 375. That way we know if it does hit there and where it can go. Got a new gaming rig coming soon, so this little lag that you're experiencing or that I'm experiencing, you might not notice it on the stream, but that's gonna be history. So from there, we're gonna have smooth sailing. So yeah, if you guys are in the Discord, let me know. I'm probably gonna patch in Connor and see what he's doing. I also found this really good Discord group who, I mean, they're making a killing. They're making an absolute killing. The only issue is they're dealing with mostly penny stocks that cannot, that aren't really tradable with TradeNet. So you'd have to get an account with either SureTrader, and the commissions are going to eat your account alive, especially if you have a small account. SureTrader is $100 a month.
All on scan, CALL, 15 million share flow, not moving. So.
And the commissions are $5 a piece. $5 a peach. How's the pop filter? Pop. Hello. Hello, pop. Can you hear this? Hello. Ladies and gentlemen. Okay. All right. Well, NLVN. Big runner from yesterday. I think a lot of people want to see this move again. There was a lot. NLVN. I think. Yeah, so you see yesterday it went from 80 cents to about 200 or 230. And it's bullish on the day. So we'll see. Compared to yesterday's chart, let's see where this can pivot. We have a price level at $2. You could, I said if we want to see a lower high form, I would start getting short around 2 and then double in around 230. So these are the levels that I have that I'm kind of waiting for. In between here, I'd say it's more of a gamble. Biotech, these things can definitely run. But overall, I don't have much faith in the company. I wouldn't invest in this. It's just steadily declining. So this around this 180 mark, you're running into daily resistance off the 50 EMA. So that could be what people are shorting off of. It really, I mean, it had bounced here yesterday twice around this level. So I'd say this could be a potential add. Obviously, the more tiers you go up, the better. So if you really wanted to scale in, you could start a position here. Then you could add another quarter here. So you'd be 2 tiers. And then you could either double here. That way your average is still back around, it would be like in this 215, 210 area. And that would only be if the trade goes against you. If not, you're obviously in the money and you're green. If you added here and it starts to go in your direction, you could take off a little piece, maybe around here, and then under 125 you can add back. Or you can just hold it and wait either for, you can wait for 125 with your risk at 2. That way you're risking 20 cents to win 40. So this would be a good trade if you can get in at 180. If you're getting in at 160, you're risking 20 cents to make, I mean, you're still making 40 cents. So figure out however you want to manage your trade based on these levels. Your higher probability trade is going to be at this 235 level if it can get up here. You'd like to see how it reacts. I mean, right now it's showing a little bit of weakness, not being able to get over this 180. So the higher it goes, in my opinion, the weaker it's going to be. It has good volume compared to yesterday, but yesterday when it had this kind of volume, it was really making a move. So for it to have the same amount of volume and not be steadily increasing, it shows that the stock's heavy and people are shorting it. Like there's sellers taking up all the buys, taking up all the volume. So when this volume runs out and people aren't coming in to buy anymore, it's just going to fade out. Or if they overtake the sellers, then you'll get that squeeze. So I mean, I'm more interested, like I said, around 2 and 240. Other than that, not much going on. I know there's the trader convention this weekend in Vegas, so maybe people are just taking Friday off and going there. So I think it starts today. I'm not too sure. I'm not going this year. Not trading really kind of sucks. But trading and breaking your rules sucks even more, even if you win. I'm not happy with a green day if I break my rules, because eventually that'll catch up to me and make all those green days go away. So right now it's testing the opening price. Looks kind of weak. Not seeing really much. Well, let's see. So the fact that we're pretty slow for today, and I'm not going to be trading, I'm going to make a little bit of a video, small video on TradeNet and level 2. I wanted to go over some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way to kind of make the platform a little bit more user-friendly and easy to read. So I've done a lot of customization to the level 2 here, time and sales, the account manager, position, just about everything here has a little tweak to it that just makes it a little bit easier to see. It makes it easier on the eyes, and most importantly, it makes it easier to interpret the information. You're not bombarded with extra information sometimes, and this is for all platforms, not just TradeNet. They give you way too many facts. They'll show your P&L and your unrealized profit in like 3 or 4 different places, and to be honest, you don't want to see that anywhere, because if you're looking at the P&L and that means you're just not looking at the trade. You're just looking at the dollar amount. And if you're looking at the dollar amount go up and down, you're not reading the level 2. You're not looking at the time and sales. You're not looking at the chart. You're just looking at your P&L. And you're not ever going to make it looking at your P&L. So some of these colors I did, so this big green, this bright green, that means somebody hit the ask. They marketed a big order at this 215, and they're trying to beat this up. Here you have all the sellers. Red means they're selling on the bid, like they're selling to this guy at 214. If they put in a big enough order, it would have to be a over 10,000 share order. Then you'll see some at the next level for bright green, because they just knocked it down a level. Same thing with the selling, the color. I made it a salmon pink, and then it'll be a fire engine red if it hits the bid. If you're selling, it'll be red or bright red. I haven't seen any bright red just because it's so thick here. They're really trying to hold it up. They want to keep it over here. We're actually looking at a different stock here. Okay, so SLS bounced around this $2 mark. Pretty red on the day. There's definitely buying coming in, so Ugh. I wouldn't even. This is one of the top gainers. Here's a big bid that came in. This is the one we were talking about earlier, that it was just riding down the EMA. It's still holding that level, so you'd have to feel comfortable riding this down. Especially if you're playing off the 5-minute chart, you obviously would have paid yourself along the way, but you still might be holding a portion of it. There hasn't yet been a 5-minute candle
So if we get to 10 a.m.
to make a new high.
That'll be probably only the
So there's really nothing to worry about.
That's happened. So you know.
Plus, if it breaks this 207, it should flush, because it's going to break this low and it's going to set a new low for the day. So we'll watch the tape and see what happens at 207.
5 minutes till 10 a.m.
Let's see, yeah, low at 207. We'll see if it gets back down there. If it doesn't get back down to 207 and it holds sideways, then I would think about taking a long position over 207 with a really tight stop. If you wanted to give it a little bit more room, you could obviously cut it under $2, which is a nice whole number that traders like. So let's see, this is already pulled back. It's only a 30-cent pullback, so the bounce, you could expect half of that. You'd really have to take big size on here to make any money. And like we said, this 226 area is definitely an important level based on the previous gap history. So going back to the level 2 and the time in sales and adjustments for that, sorry about distraction. You notice that I have my price listed and the share size. I don't have the time. You can obviously put the time, but for me it's not really that useful. So I really just wanted the price, the time, and then like I said, the coloring that I had. I have, if they hit the ask and they come in and buy a lot of shares, it's bright green. At the ask is normal, it's green. Inside the ask is gray. You could have it white, but gray seemed a little bit easier on the eyes, and it's not as important for me to see. It's really easy to read the light gray on dark gray. At the bid, there's a salmon color here, and then below the bid, if it gets slammed, you're going to see some red. So here there's a lot of selling come through.
Usually my slowest day of the week. That is true.
So I got rid of all the other columns. There's like 4 or 5 different columns, and then I upped the size. So I only show that information. The level 2 I think is the best. They let me see if I could get a new one out here and show you how they come by default. Do you want to load the default from all trading windows? No. So load default. There's the default. Nah. Anyway, you guys know how they come by default. The colors are really obnoxious. It's yellow here. There's a green here. You're gonna get a red. You're gonna get an orange. You're gonna get a blue. There's really just like not much, not any pattern that I could see to it. They're just all over the place. So instead of having a bunch of rainbows flashing around, I adjusted my coloring so that it's a lot easier to read. This gives me a lot better look at how the level 2 looks for the price levels. So I have 3 tiers. I have 4 tiers actually. So 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, and 2, and then 3 plus is all one color. So the way that you do that, you go to set a color. You can't use these default colors. You have to add custom colors. And I chose a cool color which is easy on the eyes. So kind of like this light blue and blue area. And then you just want to click somewhere about in here and add a color and click a little higher up and just add them all the way up until you get to basically white. That way you have a lot to choose from. And then once you have your bank of colors, you come in here and find a color that works. That might be a tad dark, so you'll go with something like that. And then next level, next level, next level. I do 3 levels, and then the rest is the same. So you'll see it's easy to read. You have your first level, your second, your third, and you can see exactly how thick they are. It's gradient, so it makes more sense to me than having a red, orange, yellow, green, and they actually weren't even in order of the rainbow. So I couldn't find any way to interpret that information, but this way you can just look at it. You don't even have to look at the numbers, and you can see more how thick it is or how thin it is. So that helped me a little bit. Another thing, when you're default here, you can pull down this bar and you can add hot buttons, which I mean they're really useful. If you're in a position you don't want to play around with this position or this default share size and whatnot, you just hit this bail button and it'll close out all the positions for you. Besides doing the color customization, they also give you a bunch of these other columns in here. They give you the market maker ID. I think they tell, I'm not even sure what this is, I've never used it. Then they give you the bid, the ask, and they might even give you something else. You don't need to use the market maker ID. We are CFD trading. We're not direct routing anything to any of these routes. So what's the point of knowing? You're only going to be trading through the route of CFDR. You can't direct route. So get rid of them. Just take them all. Take it off.
It's like ASNS a little bit of action.
That way you only have the bid, price, and the size. And it correlates perfectly with the time in sales, the price, and the size. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the level 2. If you want to go ahead and configure your default order, 100 shares, 250 shares, whatever you want. If you want to do an exact break even for commissions based on the $1.50 minimum, and they're like 6 cents, or they're 0.0067 per share, with fees and whatnot. If you buy 100 shares in 100 share lots, it's going to cost you $1.50 for every 100. But in order to break even, you really have to buy 250 share lots. So if you were to buy 500 shares with the $1.50 minimum, it's going to cost you $3 to buy 500 shares. So you can buy that in $1.50 increments. You can buy 250 shares and 250 shares, and it's still only going to cost you $3. But if you buy it in $100 share blocks, to buy 500 shares, you're going to have to do 5 orders. So you're going to have to do 5 times 150, so it would be 750. So for me, my default order is 250 shares. That way I can scale in. If I don't know necessarily if I want to buy 1,000 shares, I'll just buy 250, and then I'll use your mental stop and judgment, and you might add to it, you might take off a portion, and you'll just kind of trade around your core size, just like I was talking about the AWX, how you'd want to like here I'd probably look to start getting in here under this 226 area. It's back up at this level that we were talking about. So I can't trade today, but I would have definitely, I'd be looking at taking this position. So you see the volumes coming in here. This 226 is a good resistance level to risk off of. So I'd be in just a quarter size. Looking at the 5-minute pattern, it's strong. This was the first 5-minute candle to make a new high. So if you were watching this, you're in at 217. It is an uptrending stock. It's up 18% for the day. This 226 is a big level for me. Getting in at this level, you'll lose 10 cents. Not a big deal. What really matters the most is if it goes over your risk level and you hold on to the position. Because over the risk level, like I said, over this 226, it's bullish. So you don't want to be holding a stock when it's bullish. So I'll just be watching this with you guys. It kind of sucks not being able to trade, but the ideal entry on this would be starting to build your position in the around 240 area. But that would be just for a play back down. So the reason that I like this short is because this 226 holds a significant level, along with it's here with the VWAP. So right now you'd be basically break even if you did take the position. Under 210 this thing can go. There's really not much of a window here, so you really have to be taking on some pretty good size. At most you're going to be capturing like 40 cents, and that's if you hit the top and bottom. So even capturing half the move is difficult at times. And on such a low cost stock, you're gonna have to take a big position. With big positions come big commissions. Alright, well, I'm kind of sick and tired of hearing me. So I'm going to sign off here, off the mic. I'll still be here. I'll flip the mic on for any questions or anything like that pertaining to the chat. But other than that, I'm just going to be watching the market for about maybe another half hour. It looks like this Friday's pretty slow. Yeah, so I was trying to get Connor on the mic earlier, but he bailed.
But you know, what's the how high is it really going to go? You know, yesterday's kind of. I mean,
we'll see if we can patch him in and maybe get into his channel. He runs a Twitch channel and he streams live every day. So him and I link up because we trade the same.
Now it's back at 212 on the bid.
The same style, and it's not as difficult to fill blank area when you have two people. Alright guys, I'm going to sign off the webcam and I'll be back. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you're short SLS, keep your stop over 226. If you're going to look at to take profits, take some around 2, and I would probably just take most of it at 2. Looking at the 5-minute chart, like I said, under this 210, this has a low of 215 now. If this 215 breaks, it's going to be a trend reversal in the 5-minute. You might see it flush. So kind of looking at the level 215 got eaten up. Still 214's holding, but more people are going to be looking to get out. So we'll see if it can flush. Looks like we have buying coming in on the ask. See what Connor has to say.
Volume's pretty light, but I've watched MXC over 5. EOXL worth keeping an eye on also. 350. RSLS, I don't know. High days 45.
Okay guys, so going back to level 2 here, if you wanted to learn how to read the level 2 and you're not familiar with it, right now we're looking at SLS. It made a pivot here at 208. It kind of hit this VWAP, barely touched it, and is now looking for a trend reversal. It's trying to hold over this 215, 214 area, and we can see all this on the level 2. And if you want to learn how to read it, it's really simple. So if you want to buy something, you put out a bid. If you want to sell something, you have an asking price. So say you wanted to sell a car. I want $30,000 for my car. So I'm the seller. I'm asking $30,000. You're the buyer. You're like, well, I only want to pay $23,000. That's your bid. Now somebody else can come in and bid higher than you. There could be people lower than you. There's also other cars identical to the market that are above mine. So I don't have to sell it at let's say 21,600. I can sell it at 21,900, but these other ones are going to sell before mine sells. And like this, they give you a position size too. There's a lot of cars being sold at this price level. So all of these have to get bought before it'll get to my price level at 219. Same thing over here. There's a lot of people willing to pay 214. So if you want to sell your car immediately, you want to sell your shares, you could sell at 214. But you know, I want 219, so I'm still holding here. The only issue is this looks heavy to me, and I think it's going to continue down towards $2, so I'm only going to get $2 instead of, right now I could take 214. But you know, trying to predict the price action is really difficult. You know, earlier you could have sold it at 220, so now you're still kind of being stubborn and you're trying to get that price. So basically these are the buyers and how many buyers are at each level. These are the sellers and how many sellers are at this level. So in order for this to go to 217, and we're picking up a little bit of volume here, like I said, it looks like it's going to go down. So right now you're like, well, I wish I would have taken 214. Hey, I'll sell it at 214. Now it's at 213, and you can get 213 right now if you want to sell. Take it, because like I said, it might go down to 2, but at the same time it has bottomed here. This is the lowest it's ever been. It's 207 for the day. So you could be holding this thinking that, okay, it'll get back down to 207. Maybe you'll buy back here. You'll buy some down here and then try to sell it again at 217. So in my opinion, this 226 level is critical for this specific stock. Like I said, it's also the red to green. Like this is the opening price. If it goes over this level, it's gonna turn into a green candle. And if it gaps up and goes red, I mean, they go red in a hurry. So looking at the chart here, the gap to close is at 187. So if you guys are still in this short, like I said, take some around this. I mean, 207 is safe, but since it did pivot, I guess I'd look for it around 2. And then just take all of it around here, unless you want to keep a portion. But I guess that was a pretty good trade. Really slow. Alright guys, I tried to get in with Connor in his chat room, but it doesn't look like he's trading either. So I'm gonna watch this trade pan out. It doesn't really look like there's too much more going on. It's a Friday. If you're green, good, protect the profits. If you're red, protect your account. Don't do anything crazy. Getting me like 10:15 already. That went by really fast. So if you're trading, just keep in mind that it's Friday. The volume in the market isn't really there. So don't force anything. Don't size in too heavily into these smaller moves. The big move was from 187 to 250. To be sizing in this small portion of a move, that's how you get squeezed out, and they start making another move. So in between 207 and 220, 222, it might just bounce around in here, and you can play tops and bottoms. You'll see this bottomed here at 207, bottomed here at 208, bottomed here at 209. So this one topped here at 223. I'm not sure if that really counts, but that would be 220. So now maybe like 217 you can get in, and it might be going down. Let's see, 20. It's hard to say. There's not much. I'm gonna take a break because let's see, it's a 30% move. And then from here to here is 16. So that was, that's a perfect pullback if you're playing the move. You know that it started here, it went 30%, and it just pulled back 16%. So 16 is a little bit more than you want. Anything more than 50% is bullish.
I think at this point,
or anything more than 15% is weak, so it would be bearish. But
not a good idea to think my first trade.
EMA now trending down, downward trend on the 5-minute.
Pretty unusual, but
not sure what to think about the daily, but if you guys are watching this for whatever reason still, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and
John, you can use a hotkey.
it's gonna be slow. We're slow cooking this thing, but that's what it is. It's a grind, and we're here every day, Monday through Friday, grinding out in the mornings. Unfortunately today I'm not trading. I didn't really see too much. There's a convention, so well, it'll pick up. It'll definitely pick up. The market's not really picking a direction right now, so a lot of people aren't trying to gamble with their accounts. So I'm gonna shut off the mic, let you guys do your thing. If you have questions, I'll jump back on. And then once again, guys, if you're in this trade, looking at the 5-minute chart, it's now setting in a trend reversal, so this would be a higher low compared to this 207. So you'll see we have a 5-minute candle to make a new high over this 213 area. And this is where you don't necessarily just play the candlestick. You want to play the trade. Because it can break out, it can break through here, but if it doesn't break out and doesn't get any volume, then it's going to continue in the same direction that it was going. But if you see a bunch of buyers come in because they're playing this 5-minute chart pattern and you see the volume start increasing, that's a good indication to get out of your short position. This doji here at the bottoming at 209 was right here. That was an indicator to get out, a safe play. But the fact that volume isn't really coming in, you can kind of just wait and watch. Hey guys, I wanted to come in and jump in here. I didn't know if you were able to see that, but there was a huge seller around this 208 area, which probably panicked people out, and now it's hitting new lows. So like I said, again, if you're in this position on a drop like that, that's a good time to cover a piece. It didn't quite hit the $2 mark, but what did it hit a low of 204. So getting in up here, we were talking about it in this $20 area, somewhere around here. And it did come here. I expected it to hit lower lows and come around 2, and like I said, around this 190 area, I would just not try to be too greedy. This also looks like it's setting up for a VWAP fade, but if you're in here and you want to let it ride, you can definitely set your stop now in the money, maybe around like 216 or so. You wouldn't want to get it go, but I would definitely pay yourself on these big spikes, especially these higher volumes. But you see this seller right here, this is going to be a tough. This is 25,000 shares, so we'll see what happens there. And for the record, this is all for educational purposes. This is not in any way, shape, or form financial advice. I am not a fiduciary, and I do not give financial advice. This is strictly for educational purposes. Another thing I'd like to note, at this time during the day, you don't really want to be trading the 1 minute chart unless you're trading a breakout or something that you want to get into quickly. You'll notice here that I guess this has a pretty clean pattern. It's just stair stepping down. There really aren't any 1 minute candles to make a new high, so you could be waiting for a 1 minute candle. But if you look, we zoom out, it's a little bit more detailed, but it's still this price chart. And most people are going to be trading this price chart. So what you can witness now is that SLS was holding this 207 area. It pivoted here. It came down. It tested it. But there just weren't enough buyers to push it back up and continue it here. So as it made this lower high compared to this lower high, and this was a lower high compared to this high, and same thing, bunch of lower highs. Also here, respecting the VWAP. The pivot here at 207, it's highly likely to break through. It did consolidate around here a little bit. It pierced it, broke through a little bit and pierced it. But now we're testing this $2 mark. And like I said earlier, if you're still in this trade, this $2 area is definitely a place to be paying yourself. Based on this daily chart, I mean, it's uptrending, and it's been up this high before, around 230, and this closed at around 2, but then in a few days it was back down to 130. So I'm not saying that this exact candle is going to happen here. If it closes down here and then fades off, it's definitely a possibility. But keep in mind, it's gradually, this is a high compared to here. This is a high compared to here. These are slowly going up. So this might be the time where it holds a little bit of its gain. Maybe it turns $2 into the new bottom. And it's hard to say. It really is. But recently here, it gapped up a little bit from 130 and it held 150. So it held 20 cents, even though it started at 117 and went all the way to 2. It still held part of the move. And looking at this, I mean, this topped out with a high of 193. Here is a high of 189. This one's a high of 191. This here is a high of 205. So there's a bunch of ceilings around this $2 mark. So the fact that it's above this strong point of resistance overhead, now we can turn that ceiling to a floor. So I was looking to go into this 190 area with the short, but at the same time, I mean, you're gonna have to babysit this thing and really take a look at it. I think this $2, wherever it just touched here, this just made a low of 202. I think that's a pretty safe place to cover. Now, if you're in the trade and you don't see any volume really picking up and coming in, you can still continue to hold it. But I think $2 might become a bottom. And if it does, it'll come back down and test it and maybe test it again. It's not just going to bounce this little one time and continue to go higher, I don't think. It can do whatever it wants. But definitely paying yourself down here. Congratulate yourself on the trade. Personally, I'm congratulating myself. I am really excited that even though I didn't trade, I came out a winner today because I followed all my rules. And with that being said, I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to continue to watch this a little bit. I'm not going to end up trading at all because those are my rules and we are on the journey. So thanks guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you.